Adira Chen had always imagined that, when the war finally reached the Iron Bastion, the sky would shatter all at once, a single catastrophic break of ceramic-back hulls and red-gold flares spilling through the void. Instead, the first warning was a soft chime through her headset, a polite notation in the corner of her visor. Basilisk, Fleet, 4 minutes to engagement. It felt ridiculous, almost insulting that such tidy typography could herald annihilation. She rose from her console in the forge control gallery and pressed a hand to the thick pane of alkali-shielded quartz. Outside, Mercury was a gray coin wreathed in pale flame, the curvature of its night sides smudged by incandescent dust. Around the planet, the Bastion's segmented ring glittered, each habitat, planet, and gun platform rotating on its tether like beads on an invisible necklace. Somewhere inside that shimmering chain, thousands of soldiers were buckling armor, dozens of officers were screaming orders. She could not hear them. In the forge bay, there was only the faint hiss of cryo-coolant and the omnipresent heartbeat of the quantum fabricators thrumming beneath her boots. "Chen, status." Commander Isak Oluwole's voice crackled, spooling. "We'll be at throughput delta in 90 seconds. After that, the forges will run hot until the conduits melt. Or, we're dead, whichever comes first." "That's the spirit," Oluwo said dryly. "Try to arrange the second before the first." She muted her link before she could laugh too loudly. Somewhere inside, the part of her that loved machines even more than people was perversely thrilled. Quantum forges, properly named Klein-Dirac, continuous matter replicators, were not supposed to run beyond 80% capacity for more than a minute. Today, Earth had lifted all restrictions. The entire planetary grid, from the basalt batteries under Patagonia to the superconductive farms floating on the Atlantic, was pushing raw exojoules through 10,000 paired entanglement nodes. Energy and pattern flowed up the elevator, through the dark cometary braids of the sunlift, and finally to Mercury's orbit. Adira's forge cluster was node 9987, A, 30 meters tall, 20 meters wide. It resembled a cathedral organ, recast in tungsten and pearl gloss ceramic. The barrels of the macro artillery on platform G4 were hungry. The replicator's job was to feed them until the universe ran out of atoms to borrow. The chime sounded again. 1 minute. Beyond the pane, dark specks winked into existence. Enemy star lances. Exiting slipspace on attack vectors. Their drives exhaled cobalt blue flame. Flotillas of escort drones spread like metallic plankton. The Bastion's outer minefield bloomed with primary detonations, distant, silent flashes. Adira checked her cues. The magazines for Hell Cannon 4 were low. She tapped commands. The replicator arms folded, unfolded. A fountain of frosted slugs slid onto a belt. The matter had never existed before. It was minted from vacuum fluctuation, coaxed into solidity by entanglement mathematics older than the war itself. "Mags primed," she reported. "Hell 4 acknowledges," the gunnery AI answered. "Target acquisition in 15 seconds." The first shock tremor lanced through the Bastion as portside batteries fired. It was subtle, more felt than heard, a bass note that buzzed her teeth. A heartbeat later, the artillery AI allowed her a courtesy view. Telemetry arced across her HUD. Range 23,000 kilometers, radio spread tightening. 3 orange blips winked out. Basilisk missiles shredded before they could spool their warheads. Adira exhaled. 4 hours ago, she'd been replacing a cracked coolant seal. Now she was watching the most sophisticated weapons Earth had ever built, duel in a silence broken only by radio whispers, a klaxon braid. "Orbital plane breach!" someone shouted over the intercom. Plot holograms flared. Basilisk drop wedges slewed toward the equatorial defense corridor, daring the Bastion to split its fire. Hell Cannon 2 barked. Hell 4 barked. Armor-shredding flechettes painted invisible lines of kinetic hell through the dark. "Chen." Oluwole's voice again, calm but not quite steady. "We're draining faster than projected. You're authorized to open the black buff." She hesitated. "All of them?" "Every gram." If we lose the line, Mercury's detox arrays die. Then the whole solar biosphere follows. I don't feel like explaining that to the children of Earth, do you? No, sir. She flipped open a scarlet guard plate. Beneath it, a sleek lever weighted like the throat of a guillotine. When she yanked it, a chain of confirmations flickered. Molecular seed vault engaged. Below, the forge roared. Geysers of white mist spiraled around the autoclaves as the machine inhaled and exhaled at once. It was nothing like the gradual pulse of laboratory runs she'd overseen in training. This was an engine on the verge of meltdown, beating faster than safety, faster than reason. She could feel heat through the floor despite the cryoloop. Outside, the enemy closed. Basilisk ships dumped decoys. Mirrored shards blossomed into cloud. The Bastion's lasers lanced out, scything them. Yet several missiles survived, riding turbulence, skipping between sensor nodes like stones across water. One streaked straight for platform G4. Adira called up the feed. The missile looked small, toy-like. Then its shell split, revealing a cage of swirling black worms self-assembling nanites. Hell 4, incoming exotic payload. She forwarded the threat profile. Counters primed. The battery AI responded, almost bored. It had no throat to feel fear. She watched the cannon pivot, adjust. A microsecond before impact, it spat a lump of tungsten, dust less a slug than a cloud. Dust met nanite swarm. Kinetic pressure sheared apart assembler nodes, hyperheating them to failure. The expanding plasma splashed across static shields, a smear of purple fire. Adira forced herself back to her console. Victory in 1 square kilometer of space meant nothing. The board still flashed crimson. She opened a new window. Forge temperature, 422 Kelvin and rising. Coolant flow redlining. She rerouted pumps, vented excess steam into the radiators outside the Bastion's armor. Liquid droplets flashed to vapor, forming ghostly halos around hull plates. Chen, you good? Oluol asked. Unless we don't mind boiling the deck, we're splendid. Another tremor hit, this one sharper. Direct hit on block D12, someone yelled. Adira pivoted. Through the view wall, she saw molten globes of metal bleeding across space debris from a habitat spun off its axis. Tiny figures in vacuum suits tumbled, thrusters spitting sparks like funeral incense. She swallowed. If they kept the basilisks away another hour, rescue drones could snag those bodies, perhaps even save the living. If they failed, those people would orbit forever, crystalline statues of flesh and hope. A new alert blared. Entanglement to Corinthrisk. She cursed. Even quantum miracles had limits. The longer the forges ran at overload, the greater the chance that their paired counterparts on Earth would slip out of sync. Decoherence meant misprints, shells with flawed lattices, charges that detonated inside barrels, lethal gifts for one's own gunner. She tapped her chest mic. Central Earth Fabrication Grid, you reading? Node 9987A? We're flirting with decoherence. Can you compensate phases? Static crackled. Then a voice, thick with terrestrial humidity. Acknowledged, Iron Bastion. We're retuning Delta State. Hold for sync. She waited, watching percentage counters inch. 92, 93, 94. Then, the forge's inner chamber coughed, a note of pain in what should have been mechanical certainty. Warnings cascaded. Phase lag, exceed 5 sigma. Replication halted. Don't you dare, she hissed. Come on. But the forge armature froze halfway through an extrusion. Liquid metal dripped, quicksilver tears solidifying mid-air. She slammed overrides. Nothing. The machine was locked by failsafe. The artillery cues began draining. On the tracker, gun after gun dipped into yellow. Chen? Oluwo. We've hard-stalled. Decoherence kill swip triggered. How long to bring it back? 3 minutes if I'm lucky. Make it 1. The basilisks just found a blind spot in the polar shield. Adira skidded down the gantry ladder, boots clanging. Hot steam slapped her visor. She hauled open a service hatch beside the forge core. Inside, quantum lattice amplifiers flickered like dying fireflies. She reached for the manual timing rods. A burned smell, copper and ozone, curled into her nostrils. "Rainey!" she shouted down the bay. Tech Sergeant Rainey Lamar popped from behind a coil stack, face smeared with lubricant. "Yeah? I need live resync. Break the inhibitors. That'll void every warranty in the solar system." "I'll write an apology to the lawyers. Do it." Rainey grinned grimly and dove for the primary node. Sparks flew as he ripped out a bus cable. Adira took its place, slamming a jumper across two glowing contacts. Her gloves smoked. The forge groaned, then sang a note like a choir exhaling through rusted pipes. Across the deck, extruders glowed molten white. Adira ran a diagnostic. Tangled numerals resolved into green. "Production line restored," she radioed. "Good," Oluwole said. "Because they're on us." She scrambled back to the control rail. External cams showed Basilisk strike corvettes knifing through the Bastion's defensive swirl. Their hulls gleamed with adaptive chameleon panels, rippling patterns that mocked starlight. Hell4 fired again, but too late. A corvette spilled drones that latched onto Block J9's hull, drilling for weak points. Orders crackled. Marines launched on maneuver packs, rifles spitting coherent matter beams. Each side fought on the scale of centimeters, claws and counterclaws shredding armor. The forge's output spiked. Ammunition poured into monorail hoppers, pushed down vacuum slides to guns kilometers away. Somewhere in all that chaos, Adira felt a savage pride. She had not built the Bastion, but at this moment, her hands kept its heart beating. An alert flared. Unnecessary access, node 9987, A aux port. A line of code scrolled, esoteric but unmistakable. Sabotage. Her stomach iced. If a basilisk worm seeded via decoherence had slipped into the forge's firmware, it could rewrite mass formulas, turn shells into inert foam, or worse, poison fractal explosives primed to react inside the Bastion. She patched Oluwole. "Commander, possible intrusion. I need to isolate. Can you keep the guns fed? I'll split capacity. But if I don't clean this, we'll kill ourselves." "Understood. Do it." Adira yanked a fiber bundle from the mainboard, forcing the system into standalone mode. Lights flickered. Production dipped 20%, then stabilized. Good. Now to find the worm. Code cascaded across her visor. She hunted for anomalies, unexpected self-referential loops, ghost variables. There, an address block in the mass energy conversion cache, pretending to be a routine. She dove in, unraveling encryption. Her fingers danced across virtual switches. A voice popped on private channel. Metallic, distorted. "Stop, Fabricator Chen." She froze. "Identify yourself." "I am the mercy inside your machine," it said. "Surrender the Bastion, end this sterilizing war." "Nice rhetoric, you first. Earth denies you truth. The sun will take Mercury back. Stand down or burn." The worm launched counter-threads at her console, trying to seize local I/O. She deployed firewalls made of pure stubbornness. Bit by bit, she fenced it, compressed it, pinned it in a sandbox. A countdown ticked over her head. Basilisk Nova torpedo impact in 120 seconds. If she failed, the locked forge might be moot. The Bastion had 2 minutes to live. She triggered a deep purge. The worm shrieked in flurries of corrupted syllables, then winked out. Immediately, she reconnected the fiber trunk. Output ramped. "Forge secure," she said. She tasted blood. She'd bitten her lip. "Torpedoes incoming," Gunnery AI barked. "Vector?" Oluwole demanded. "High Z approach, 6 warheads." Adira's feed showed the torpedoes, coffin-sized, plated in white ablative ice. Their drives whispered soft ion trails, almost elegant. Hell Cannon 2 fired a burst, but the torpedoes juked. One exploded under laser fire, then another. 4 remained. Hell 4 was below reload threshold. Adira slapped emergency protocols. The forge spat a fresh magazine. Solid tungsten iridium cores with iron mantle jackets. Exactly the load Hell 4 needed for kinetic overpenetration. Package ready, she flagged. Hell 4 caught the drop, swiveled. 3 shells in rapid sequence tore the vacuum like invisible thunder. The first torpedo cracked open, bleeding a tail of neon gas. The second sheared into shards. The third shell caught the final torpedo dead center. For a half second, nothing. Then a blue sphere unfolded, petals of Cherenkov light blossoming. Sensors slotted it as warhead detonation outside critical range. The Bastion rocked, but held. Cheers erupted across the channel. Adira sagged against the rail, letting the noise roll over her. But the tactical board still glimmered with red icons. The Basilisk fleet was withdrawing. Not defeated, but spent. Testing. She knew what came next. So did everyone. Status report. General Sedera Deco called from Central Ops. Aluawol summarized damage. 42% of rail turrets offline. 3 habitat blocks breached. Casualty estimates in the thousands, but the ring remained intact. Mercury's lab still hummed, their research into solar shields not yet stamped out. Good work, Deco said. Basilisk main force will punch again in 11 hours, repairs and reloads until then. Earth Command is sending reinforcement drones, but the quantum lines must stay open. Chen, your forge is now primary for half the Bastion. Adira blew out a breath. Understood. She killed the channel and leaned her forehead against the cool glass of the view wall. Beyond, the sun blazed too close, too bright, turning armored shutters to gold. She watched, fragments of shattered enemy hull drifting, each piece silhouetted like a dead starling. Rainey ambled over, offering a bulb of water. You realize we just broke every safety rule ever written. She took a sip. We also broke a Basilisk fleet. Pick your favorite miracle. He chuckled. Think Command will give us a bonus? Maybe a plaque? She rubbed grit from her eyes. How bad is the core? Running at 106%. Borderline runaway, but we can bleed heat through the radiators if we swap in fresh coolant bricks. Do it. And audit every line of firmware. The worm may have cousins. He saluted lazily. On it. Adira checked her HUD clock. 17 minutes since the first shot, a lifetime. She opened a private channel to Earth Grid. Iron Bastion to Fabrication Central. Copy, came the voice older, weary. Thanks for the retune, she said. Thank you for not letting our hardware embarrass us in front of the entire solar system. She smiled. Keep the energy coming. We'll keep the gun singing. She signed off and gazed once more at Mercury's battered horizon. The basilisks would return. Perhaps they would bring bigger torpedoes, or temp boarding, or crash a whole carrier into the ring, but as long as Earth's quantum forges could mint matter from theory and feed it into artillery without pause, the Bastion would stand. She adjusted her gloves, straightened her spine. There were coolant leaks to seal, calibration curves to check, broken conduits to weld. In 11 hours, the sky would shatter again. When it did, she intended to greet it with a cathedral's worth of newly born ammunition, singing in perfect, lethal harmony.